The men's 400 meter dash has never been as competitive as it is right now. At the Olympics in Paris, we got to witness 5 men break the 44-second barrier in that event. And one of those men was Jareem Richards of Trinidad. He got 5th overall in that race. So you cannot blame me for expecting him to win the 400 indoors at the New Balance Grand Prix, because he's also a world indoor champion in that same event from 2022. But apparently I did not give enough thought to the fact that Quincy Wilson would also be on the starting line. By now, most people know Quincy Wilson is the youngest men's Olympian America has ever sent to the games for track and field. He made the Olympic trials final in the 400, and then ran on the men's 4x4, specifically in the prelims. He came back to high school this year, and he's been competing. Of course he's been winning a whole bunch of races, but it doesn't mean that he has never lost. Granted, if you really want to beat Quincy Wilson in a high school uniform, you're probably going to have to break a national record. Andrew Salvadon is proof of that. All that being said, Quincy stepped up to the line to race against Jareem Richards, Will Sumner of America, as well as Fikita Nene of South Africa. All of those men are very accomplished athletes. Will Sumner was the NCAA champion in the 800 as a freshman back in 2023. And the year before that, he broke the high school national record in the 500, the exact same record that just went down a few weeks ago, in a race where Quincy Wilson was not in the front. Fikita Nene was also at the Olympic Games competing in the 400, and he has a PR of 44.74, the type of man that we expect to see on the Diamond League, mixing it up with everybody else. And Quincy Wilson, who is still a high school athlete, beat all of them. And you have to see the way that he pulled it off. Because Jareem Richards did about what I expected him to. He was in lane 5, and Quincy was in lane 6. Indoors in the 400, you run the first 150 of the race, and then there's a break to the pole. Fikita Nene wanted to win the race to the pole, and Jareem Richards wanted to get it with him. So they went out in front. And Quincy Wilson was right behind him. They all split very close to 21 flat. But from that point on, it was basically the Quincy Wilson show, because he got himself in position, took the lead, and then ran away from the field. So the real question is not just whether or not Quincy Wilson is talented. We already know that by now. But what does this race actually mean? Especially for a young man who came back to run in high school. And as far as I know, is planning on running a few more races at that level when this is done. Entering the current high school season, Quincy Wilson was the only 99 overall rating for his class on the SCA national recruiting list. It makes sense. He's the only one who actually qualified for the Olympics. For that matter, mixed it up when he got to the Olympic trials and made it look interesting by getting into a final. For that reason, we all know that at that level, he is really on another level from what everyone else is doing. But the question that keeps coming up with Quincy Wilson's name is going to be, does he belong running against high school athletes, or should he be turning pro? But if you're new here, I want to say thank you for even making it this far into the video. And I'm Coach Rob, the founder of SCArecruiting.com, where I rank the best track and field recruits across the entire nation. And if anything that I say actually connects with you, it is always greatly appreciated if you would please like and subscribe. But if I don't, just let me know in the comment section, because I try to read them all. It's a very awkward question to answer, because he already has an NIL deal with New Balance. And in case you weren't paying attention, it's called the New Balance Indoor Grand Prix. See where I'm going with this? They put him in the field running against pros when he was just running at high-level high school invitationals a few weeks ago. And now, he can mix it up on both ends. What is best for his development is a conversation that I'm not prepared to have right now. But I do have to say this part. When it comes to Quincy Wilson, and I've never really gone on the record to say this, there comes a point when you are an athlete where it almost makes no sense to pretend that you are just like everybody else. Quincy Wilson is not like everybody else who's competing at the high school level. We now know that his career is supposed to take him all the way to the games, into an Olympic final, competing for gold. Anything less than that would go down as a failure in the eyes of most fans. That said, what is best for his development is a very large question. Because NCAA track and field has been recruiting Quincy Wilson. He has already been visited, or for that matter, taken visits to schools like Florida, Texas Tech, Georgia, and basically anybody else who has real hopes of winning a national title in track and field. It makes sense that he would be on their radar. But should they be on his? Well, what is his alternative? He's already running with pros at events like this right now. So what are we expecting to happen? Because the infrastructure that pro track and field has leaves a lot to be desired. It is abundantly clear that he has enough talent to mix it up with the pros right now, and perhaps even beat most of them. I don't really care that much about training cycles or where people are in their training considering the pros versus the high school season or whatever. Because people have a whole lot of pride when a high school athlete steps onto the track. If you consider yourself to be a pro, a real one, you have no intention of losing that race. The fact that Quincy Wilson got to the line ahead of everybody else, it was a shock to maybe not him, but certainly the other men in that race. Remember, Jareem Richards is a world indoor champion in the 400-meter dash. And Quincy Wilson beat him indoors in the 400-meter dash in a professional race. If Quincy chooses to run in college, there is a good argument for it, because NIL was basically invented for people like him. Remember, it means name, image, and likeness. And Quincy Wilson actually has a name, image, and likeness that America actually recognizes. Because track and field sure enough ain't getting none of that pay-for-play money that we disguise as NIL. But you can certainly make money from representing a brand. I can't think of anyone, certainly not at the junior level, in America, who is more of a brand, at least by face and by talent, than Quincy Wilson right now. But I also admit that running in college may not be what's best for him in the long run. Sadie McLaughlin-Lavroni did run in college, but she just did it for 1 year. She proved that she was way better than everybody else at that level. After the fact, she turned pro, because the records were already hers, and the only thing she could do from that point was fail to win, because winning was already a foregone conclusion as long as she was on the track. Quincy Wilson is now approaching that level, and he ain't even get to college yet. Though I have no idea just how long Quincy Wilson will be going out there disguised as an amateur athlete. Because we all know the truth. Quincy Wilson is ready for the pros right now, at least on talent. Because he's figured out how to keep showing up in big races, running against them, and getting to the line ahead of them more often than not. That said, be careful what you wish for, because when you get to the pro level, you cannot just win, you have to win big, specifically in the one race that you actually need to run. So when Quincy Wilson almost inevitably gets back to that level, at the World Championships and the Olympic Games, there's only one race where he's supposed to be running, and the only way his potential can be fully realized, the same potential that screams through my television screen while I watch him race, is he's gonna have to get to the line, in front of everybody else, when the lights are on and it's time to perform. In the sport of track and field, confidence is everything, because when you win, that is just the moment when everybody else finds out what you already knew to be true, that fast is a lifestyle. Get your Fast is a Lifestyle track and field gear at scarecruiting.com/shop, or use the link in the description below. It's a huge support to me and this channel, so I can continue to make you more content like this. And remember, it is always greatly appreciated if you would please like and subscribe.